As of July 21st of this year, 24 professional Tier 1 organizations, 120 starting caliber players, and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars will be going to waste as all of their seasons end by or before then, and they must wait until February of 2025 before they play another professional match. I feel like any person with basic cognitive function and knowing that the triangle can go in the square hole can agree that a barely 5-month-long season for these players could be seen as a negative thing. One of the main problems with the 2023 season was the quantity of games outside of the GOATs. Teams that made the bottom line of series played, typically rookie teams or budget rosters to try and develop players and at least want to try the long haul, had a bare minimum of playing 11 games. Riot, being the gracious gods that they are, decided to increase it from last year, going from 11 to 12, pushing numbers by generational efforts. Although the only teams hitting this margin are the actual bottom of the line teams that most people don't want to watch anyway, there's plenty of other teams that did play near or at the margin that absolutely did not deserve to, whether that be for reasons of combining the stage records, not enough games, horrible qualification rules, and terrible brackets. Furia had a very slow start to the year, going 0-2 in kickoff and then 0-5 in stage 1. It was looking all over for Furia, but they were not done yet. They stuck with their old core and coaching staff and signed Noswer and Zan to try and turn this ship around. Nobody really thought these signings meant anything. People wrote Furia off, but they didn't write back. Opening stage 2 with an incredible 2-0 against the reigning America's champions, 100 Thieves. They would continue this all the way through stage 2, and as of writing this video, they're currently 3-1 with a chance to go 4-1 if Musera has a life game against Lev. Unfortunately for Furia, one loss is one too many. Losing to EG meant that Furia from week 2 of stage 2 has zero chance of making it to playoffs because the records from stage 1, 3 months and an entire roster ago, carries over. I get that overall performance should be looked at, but we just went through an entire global event. You're going to sit here and tell me with a straight face that this team right here has a genuine chance to make it, and this team has zero. It's like telling the 08 Patriots who went 11-5 that can't go to playoffs, but the 8-8 Chargers can and end up losing and catch a field anyway. Fuck you. Energy had an actual chance to extend their season farther, but fumbled harder than the 49ers fumbled in the Swifty Bowl. They did, however, play above the league minimum, from a measly 12 to an incredible 13 games. Energy's ups only came from the first month and a half of the season, going 2-0 in their kickoff group and losing an insanely close game to the Masters Madrid winners and Sentinels. From there, they would start hot, then piss away all hope for a Stage 1 playoff appearance, going 3-3. In a desperate attempt to make the season into something, they dropped and benched Marvin Demon 1 respectively and signed back FNS and Som. They had some really good showings against the likes of Sen, Crew, C9, and really started to figure shit out towards the end. But it just wasn't enough to qualify for playoffs. They absolutely had their destiny in their own hands, don't get me wrong. But with so little prep time, Victor having the illusion that Neon was a viable agent, and Chet still being on this roster, it simply wasn't enough. Be super serious with me. No Demon 1, no win prejudice aside. If this roster had just a little bit more time, whether that be an extended regular season, or maybe a whole other international event, that this roster wouldn't have figured it out, NA would have been on a whole new level. And the players from a mental perspective definitely would have felt less bad and less stressed if they knew that this wasn't the end. It's just too star-studded to be counted out, but the old age finally caught up to them, and they didn't have enough time to really make it click. I hope that this roster stays together, or at least parts of it, but the way that their season ended, I have my worries. T1 may be the weirdest of them all, showing how Riot's shitty format could benefit a team while scamming other teams in the process. T1 started their season similarly to NRG, winning their group in kickoff and then losing to PRX, who would eventually go top 3 at Masters Madrid. Stage 1 starts and T1 starts shitting the bed instantly, only beating RRQ in a close game with perfect attack calling from Excret for the first time, and Zeta, the Pistons of Valorant. Riot implemented a rule where teams must win 2 games in order to qualify for playoffs, so really bad teams weren't getting into playoffs for free based on how the groups worked, and generally if you did well, you made it in. With that being said, Team 1 were allowed to go into playoffs going 2-4, and RRQ's 3-2 stage was spat on by John Riot and told to go fuck themselves. RRQ missed out after beating the APAC Titans that are Genji and Team Secret. They lost to a terrible global team in a crazy upset, which was just enough so they didn't go 4-1, probably qualifying them for playoffs. Honestly, thank God that they lost that game, because even if they beat them, Talon and PRX also went 4-1, and one of the 3 would have had to miss out, and T1 get to waltz in like they didn't just play the worst Valorant of the org's existence since Saya player thought Spider was a good name change. T1 take advantage of the gift given to them, and qualify for Shanghai, then promptly go out 0-2, losing to both NA teams. As we have already discussed, Stage 2 carries over the record of Stage 1, which is a nightmare for T1. They're of the illusion that this is still winnable and signed stacks from BRX. It looks super competitive. losing incredibly close games to the Shanghai winners in Gen G and a top 2 APAC contender, Team Secret. And just how Riot giveth, Riot taketh. And T1 missed playoffs going 2-2, and Talon, who went 2-3 in Stage 2, qualified. Quick double back on RRQ. They kept momentum going, putting up another 3-2 record in Stage 2. Munyet and Jemkin look super good, probably a top 4 team in APAC, and holy shit, they have to play Gen G in an elimination game to even keep hopes alive. I mean, this shit's insane. Not only is it an elimination game, unlike last year where these games led to a lower bracket. Like, imagine EG beat NRG in playoffs last year, but that was it for NRG. They just had to wait for LCQ. FNS honestly might have been the prime suspect in a quadruple murder of all of his teammates. But I also pinky promise you DRX at the bare minimum are not better than RRQ in the slightest. And they got a first round bye and auto qual for champs if Gen G win. Why is that? Champs points. On paper, this seems like a good idea, but in execution, it feels super shitty. When you win, you get points. Win big games like internationals or regional finals, you get bonus points. The team with the most points qualifies for champs. But typically those teams are already playing really, really well, and they make top 3 in Stage 2 anyway, which is the normal way that you qualify for internationals. In which case, the next team with the most amount of champs points automatically qualify for champs. And sometimes those teams below them are not as good as they used to be. For example, DRX. The APAC regular season GOATs have gone through crazy roster changes. After going 5-0 in Stage 1, an incredible accomplishment, they bomb out of playoffs and miss Shanghai. For this, Stax is ejected from the castle that is DRX and into the coal mines that is T1. Now DRX's new roster get a singular win in Stage 2 to automatically qualify for playoffs, because again, we're combining Stage 1 records for some fucking reason. They then do just enough to earn a first round bye and enough points that if PRX and Gen G make top 3, the only 2 teams with more points than them, they get a free spot at champs. The idea of DRX going to champs after hardly being inspirational at all, other than Flashback's addictive needs to play Clove all the time, is actually insane. In a perfect world, PRX, Gen G, Secret, and RRQ all go, because those are the 4 best teams right now, and they can all go on a run in Seoul, but the odds are near 0. Another team in the situation is 100 Thieves. After dominating Stage 1, 100 Thieves have looked like a shell of their former self. A Saudi fuel tank the size of a football field, completely drained of all of its oil. Unlike DRX where there's glimmers of hope, watching 100 Thieves this stage only gives you sadness. Equivalent of them playing Ascent with 2 new players versus Valen. 100 Thieves didn't even need to qualify for playoffs. They just need Sen and Lev to make top 3. Then because of how many champs points that they have by dominating Stage 1 so hard, they get a free ticket across the world to get their backs blown up by actually good teams. Where teams like RRQ, Furia, NRG, and T1 are given little to no hope from the get-go because there's just no time. Something needs to change soon before it snowballs out of control, and you start losing players left, right, and center to go back to CS or worse, the next and up-and-coming tag shooter. I hate to make the comparison to CS, but they've already had their 8th major tournament so far, with still many more to come. All of which are done with partner teams as well as qualifying winners. I understand offseason and breaks are important, but a 7-month-long offseason with multiple near month-long breaks during a less than half of a year of a season is completely unnecessary, and it drives players away. There's no room for error, which is the exact opposite way that you grow up-and-coming talent. And slowly but surely, it will kill the scene. I also want to emphasize, I don't think any of the teams that qualified are terrible or don't deserve it. Everyone's grinding and they did it in their own way. Like 100 Thieves, like they dominated early in the season. It's just right now I don't think that they're a top 4 team. I'm simply putting an asterisk on it and saying that there's room to improve the format of the season. If there's any other teams victimized by Riot's formatting, let us know in the comments below. We read every comment. And leave a like and sub if you enjoyed. Thank you so much.